It's more than practical, way more than merely factual. If you wanna know the secrets of a life, it's free. Listen to girls behaving metaphysically. Listen to girls behaving metaphysically.
Welcome to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Your hosts are two girls who believe that life is awesome, that laughter heals, and that it's possible to find deep spiritual insights in everyday experience. Join Robin Rice and Sumaya Wood for this week's adventure.
Hey everyone, happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Cheers to that.
Here's to that. I'm Sumaya Wood.
And I'm Robin Rice.
And we are Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Yay.
Yay. I have to say that every time I hear our intro, I'm so excited to meet those girls who believe that life is awesome, that laughter heals. I'm like, yeah, that's me. I get very excited.
I love our intro. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Leonard. Anyway, That's us. That is what we believe, and we are here to tell you about it. And we have so many things to tell you, and so many people who believe in the same things and want to share their gifts and their talents with you. So after you put what do you do it?
So if you are joining us live, just let us know you're here. Just type in just let us say hello and where you are watching from in the comments below. And if you are catching us on a replay, just let us know that you caught the show. Say hello. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes.
And with that, I am excited. I love this theme for our, March theme, and I'm as excited for today's show as I was for last week's show, because spring cleaning, who doesn't need to do spring cleaning in general? If you were joined us last week, I talked about cleaning out those mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual dust bunnies. And that is what we are exploring this month. And today is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. I don't know that I would say dear, but it's definitely near, because decluttering is something that I desperately need to do, and I avoid it like the plague.
Right?
Yes.
It seems like it's something that even when you think you've accomplished it, it's like slowly creeps back in.
It never ends.
Right? It's true.
So that's for me personally, that's why I'm super excited about today's show, because I have my notebook ready and pencil, and I'm ready to take some notes as we hear from our lovely guest. Shall we bring her
our
on?
lovely guest. Yes, bring her.
Okay. Hey, Tamara.
Hi.
It's like magic.
It is like magic.
I know.
Well, we are so excited to have you here today, and we are so excited. I'm so excited to introduce you. It's hard to put Tamara Zook in a box. Just give her a little blurb, a bio, because she is one phenomenal woman. Tamara today is a professional organizer right here, right now, and she possesses a rare talent of combining her left brain and her right brain, and giving her the ability to work with all kinds of personalities. And she's created systems and for organizing with big companies, with small companies, with individuals. She's worked with all kinds of people and done seminars and teachers and entertainment people and all kinds of things. And she's really led them to their own growth as well as these skills of organizing. She is, she really is a phenomenal woman. And she was on the TV show Clean Sweep, where it showed her showcasing her talents of art, the art of organizing with humor and entertainment. And I have to say that having known this woman, I actually because her resume said she's been doing this for over 30 years, I had to go, oh, that must mean I've known her for for over 30 years. And so I have to say, I think that you really do that with all that you do, Tamara. You bring that humor and that individual touch that only you can do, that really does make experiences fun and memorable and life changing. And so we're going to hear about her organizing skills, and she, I have to say, having worked with her, that truly she is someone who it's easy to sit with and not feel judged. And I know a lot of that comes up when I do organizing, or when I think about organizing, because I think that I should be able to do it on my own,
Yeah.
which isn't always true. So she's going to give us some secrets and tips, and I'm talking too much. Tamara, take it away.
Hello.
Hey, Tamara. So just Gil says hello and welcome. Just sharing that. So I have to ask you a question, Tamara.
Yeah.
How did you get into the decluttering space? And were you always a neat freak? And the reason, or were you always very organized? Because I will say this, my mom, from the time I was, as far back as I can remember, was trying to get me to organize my bedroom and organize my desk and it's just never happened. So I'm really curious, or is it like genetic and I just missed out on that gene?
It happens all different ways. Sometimes it skips a generation, sometimes it goes down, sometimes it doesn't hit any of the generations. It's kind of an interesting phenomenon, just that aspect of and I've looked at it and talked with a lot of people, so that's almost a whole other program. But to your point of how it started with me, I realized I was a really creative internal world. I had a really creative internal world, and there was a lot of chaos and a lot of ideas. So when I looked out externally and saw a lot of chaos and a lot of ideas, that was a bad match for me. And so I created things outside of myself that had systems, that made sense to me, that gave me a sense of order outside of myself, so that the internal world could stay chaotic and creative and not butt heads all the time. So that's how it started. My mother always, speaking of the generational aspect, my mother always had great systems, and it was very intuitive and which I think comes from an Amish background, I come from Amish. And so there's just a sense of order that is maybe valuable, and I might be projecting on the Amish way too much, but there's a sense of hard work and having things in place and homes, and that's very, very helpful in the organizing world. So that's how it started for me. Okay. I remember my mother in high school opening my drawer and went, "Oh, what happened in here?" Because I just had to get it to be ordered for me to feel better about things. So that's how it started.
I did not have that. My sister got it from my mom. Me, not so much. I take after my dad. Clutter everywhere. So
I bet
now
I think you're more judgmental about yourself than maybe you think than you are. Truly.
No, I'm clutter everywhere.
Okay.
I think I got the hybrid, because I think that I organize my clutter well. So I have a lot of clutter, but and as Gil will attest to, we can organize it like nobody's business. The garage can look beautiful, but it's boxes of a whole bunch of stuff that we don't know what it is and why we have it still.
Right. And that's a really interesting phenomenon, where we have decided that if we can't see it and it's in these containers, these beautiful containers that we've bought, that somehow now we're more organized. And that can be helpful, but it's really kind of sort of misses the point.
Yeah.
And relate to, because I have my own cluttered internal world, creative, chaotic, which serves me very well as an artist, but not so well on the outside. But truly, I appreciate, like, if you saw, I am not one of those Zen people. You can even see it in my background. I'm not one of those minimalist, remove everything. I love visual stimulus. So if someone were to come into my apartment, they would not see what maybe they think they should of that Zen minimalism, which is what helps me when I go out and work with my clients, because I don't have a presupposition of to how it should look and how they should follow. My experience is that everybody has what they know to work for them. And it's our job, our working together, to unfold that and see and make that clearer and work for them. So it's not about my coming in and laying something over. It's giving you tools that work for you and systems that are created for you. So let's
that's
talk
fantastic.
about what some of those things might be.
I love it. So I'm just gonna make me your guinea pig.
Okay. Well, first off,
yeah,
this is what I do. I will ask a lot of questions to begin a session.
Okay.
And it's not so much what your answers are. It's going to be how you speak, and I can hear it. And
Okay.
I already hear from your speaking that there's some judgment and there's probably some perfectionism.
Totally.
So what I prefer is the 4 Ps, which is, we got perfectionism. There's our handy first P.
Yeah.
The second one is, when we have perfectionism, we go into procrastination because we have this picture in our head of how it should look. The magazines show us all those container stores. They show us how things are supposed to be, and then we've got this perfectionistic picture in our head.
Yes.
When we can't fulfill all that because we don't have enough time, energy, money, all those things, then we start like, well, when I get enough time, when I get enough money, when I get enough energy, I'll do that. And so it becomes procrastination. But at a certain point, when you just keep looking at it and looking at it, you start getting paralyzed. Yeah.
It's like, what's going on in my head.
Well, and then paralysis sets in, and all of a sudden it just gets stuck.
Yeah, like I can't do anything because I stare at the piles and I'm like, I don't know what to do with them.
Right. So the 4th P is progress, where we use words like good enough. It's okay. It's fine. Taking those smaller steps. Now, I call them baby blessings.
Okay.
Baby blessings are something that we break things down into baby steps, because that's how you get something done, is through those baby blessing steps.
Beautiful.
So for you, I would suggest whatever it is that you're staring at, break it down to the smallest baby blessing, because any step you take is going to be progress.
So so before we jump in, I just want to share, John popped in and says hello, and he's Robin's variety of organized clutter. Hi, John. How you doing?
Hi, John.
Yes. And so when you say break it down, would that be like, today I'm going to tackle this drawer kind of thing?
And it can be even smaller than that.
How would you break down a drawer?
How do you break down a drawer, right?
Yeah.
Well, let me back up just a little bit before we tackle that drawer, so to speak.
Yeah.
There is something I'd like to share that is just fundamental. If you can get this piece, you can apply this to anything, and it's going to help that drawer, interestingly enough.
I love it.
This is something that Robin is one of Robin's favorite ideas. I call it location, because where things are is going to be the most operative about location. So we got a fancy house in a fancy neighborhood. That's going to be a great location.
Right.
Let's apply that concept to, say, our desk, which is just easiest to apply. They're sitting in front of us, or we're sitting at a desk. The things we use on a daily basis should be here. So join with me. Do this with your hands here.
Okay. So right in front of me.
Here. The things you use on a daily basis.
Okay.
Look at your desk, look what's around you, and say, do I use that on a daily basis? No. Well, then it probably shouldn't be right here. Now, if I use it on a several times a week basis, then it can be, and I'm going to go out of frame here, it can be a little bit more of a stretch.
Okay.
Because we will not reach. It's just us being human. And so we don't try to organize for anything but our own humanity.
Okay.
So don't anticipate that you should reach. Don't do that. You're just not gonna. And if you touch it only a couple of times a year, then that's what goes in the back of a closet. That's what goes up high on the shelf. So if it's daily, it's here. If it's a couple of times a week, you can reach for it. Okay. And if it's something a couple of times a year, those are the things that go at the top of the closet, out in the garage, because then you'll climb up on a ladder and get it.
Right.
Robin likes to call this the cockpit theory, which when you're flying an airplane, all those things are going to be right there in your cockpit. Same. Location.
Okay.
My example of this is that I had a 3-hole punch. I use a lot of binders, and I had a 3-hole punch, and it lived on my windowsill. That was a perfect size for it. Yeah. Perfect. But it was on the windowsill, and I had to reach. So I would notice that a pile of papers that needed 3-hole punch would get tossed towards the 3-hole punch on the floor. Not because I wouldn't reach for the 3-hole punch. I was like, okay, this is cuckoo. Let's take this location. And why don't we move the 3-hole punch to our desk? Because I use binders pretty much on a daily basis. And it was right there. So simple.
Right.
So simple. So now let's apply that to your drawer.
Okay.
When you open your drawer, I don't know if it's your desk drawer or if it's the drawer full of utensils.
The kitchen junk drawer.
The kitchen junk drawer.
Yeah, no, just any drawer. My nightstand drawer, my desk drawer, any drawer.
Make sure that that's something that you actually use there in that location.
Yeah.
And then the things that you use, have them maybe in the front, and the things that you use less in the back. Now, this can be used, the same thought can be used in your purse,
right,
in the kitchen, at the desk, in your car. Just apply this reaching or out of up at the top of the closets. Do you have any questions? Did that anything
no, that
come
was
up
great.
when I talked about it?
Super clear explanation. Because right now almost all of my drawers are just junk drawers because I just shove things into drawers to get them out of eyesight.
Out of sight. Which then is the thought of like, let's put it in a container and we don't really know what's in it.
Exactly.
Oh, we don't see it, and it's good. It's gone.
Exactly. Robin, it sounds like my drawers are like your garage.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, I was actually wondering the other day, what are drawers for? Because I tend to rarely look in my drawers. I mean, yes, the drawer next to my bed, I will open every now and then. And the drawer in my office, I will open every now and then. But like other drawers where I have stuff that are like, you know, like when you buy a bookcase or something and I get so excited that it's got like 2 closed drawers or something, the hidden part. I never then open the hidden part.
Well, so you're very visual oriented, as most of us are. You're sort of out of sight, out of mind. And that becomes a little trickier in organizing. Now, that desk, those desks that just are one flat piece of glass with no drawers, I think they fall under that Zen minimalistic aspirational desk kind of thing, but they're not practical, because otherwise you have everything in those drawers on top of your desk, and that's not practical and doesn't fulfill on any kind of location. So the drawers are to aid you with your cockpit. And if you are out of sight, out of mind, then you get to be even more specific as to what it is that you actually use on a daily basis. Because the drawers, and then the levels of drawers, like the one at the bottom that are most difficult to open up and you'd have to lean over, that's, put the things you touch even less in there. But then the ones that you have most access to, put the stuff that you use the most in. That's my reason.
Makes total sense. Were you going to say something, Robin?
Well, yeah, I'm just wondering, so like, how does all of this apply to our minds, because I feel like, when I start to declutter, I get like overloaded in the head area. My mind starts to go, oh my God, it starts to, fill up with stuff.
Right.
And like, what's the pathway to, I feel like there's a correlation between like cluttered mind, cluttered house, or whatever. You know what I mean?
So clutter is unmade decisions.
Oh, that's so good.
You have to make a decision to, when you're opening that drawer, put yourself in the frame of mind of location, mm-hmm. which is going to help you make those decisions. So it's all about finding ways and things that help you make decisions. Now, I swear to goodness, I can almost feel myself going into a different place in my brain when I go into organizing. So when I feel myself in that emotional place of like wanting to keep everything and not being able to make those decisions, that is not the time to be organizing. So noticing when you're having great desire to hang on, that's probably emotionally not the time to be organizing, because everything's going to show up and look important and valuable. There are going to be times when you notice, and it's helpful if you can like get yourself into that headspace where I can make that decision. Oh, that's decision. Oh yeah, I can take advantage of it and do more decluttering at that point. It's easier said than done, but that's where your internal processing of knowledge about yourself becomes very valuable.
So that's really good. I love. Oh, go ahead.
It's almost like going shopping when you're hungry,
right?
Like for free. Right? It's like that's not when you want to go to the store. Better.
Yeah. So notice when you're feeling needy or you're not feeling as strong or focused or stable. Now, which Robin reminds me of what does it take to get yourself into that mind space? Which that's sometimes you just show up with. Sometimes you just have, and sometimes you have to get yourself there. First is knowledge, in knowing, oh, I'm feeling kind of wobbly inside, or whatever is your version of that. Probably now is not a good time, but how can I get myself there?
Right.
Again, knowledge. But what I do, and what I do with my clients, snacks. I'm a big snacker. I make sure I have things to snack on. Now, maybe for you that is, I love seltzer water, flavored seltzer water. If I can get myself seltzer water or a hot tea, that starts winding my brain into that focus period. It takes about 20 minutes for our brains to switch in and switch down. So if you're working on a project and you have just run in from driving or just cooked, to switch our actual physiological brains into a different place, it takes some winding into that. So give yourself clues. Like, we're doing this now. Hello. Notice your internal world and where it is. Give it some clues like, okay, I'm pouring seltzer water, or I'm making myself tea, or I'm going to make sure that I have apple slices with peanut butter. Whatever is your snack of choice, always have water. Light a candle. Lighting a candle changes the energy faster than almost anything on this planet. That spark of that fire actually energetically changes the world and molecules around it. Light a candle. If you work and if you do essential oils, that's always helpful. And if you work, I would suggest turn off the television, unless if you're ADHD, and sometimes that helps you focus in. Depends. You have to learn about your own self. Or I will turn on ocean waves because it's just enough of a sound that soothes me and helps me wind myself down into that focus. Give yourself that 20 minutes. Know that that's, as with any project that you're working on, be it a paper for work or a creative project, you have to have that wind down time or wind in time. And then that starts getting you to the place where you can start making some of these decisions. But no, if you're in a wobbly place, keep winding in, because it's not going to be helpful in making decisions.
And when you're talking about making decisions, you're talking about, what do I keep? What do I let go of?
Yes.
Okay.
Because remember, clutter is just unmade decisions.
I love that. So Bonnie's popped in and says, "Hola, ladies. Hi, Bonnie."
Hi, Bonnie.
Glad you're here. So I've and as you were talking about that, what I was seeing in my head was like warming up before like playing sports.
It is. It is. Yeah, it is.
And so
giving yourself that adjustment.
Yeah. So like doing my stretches and all of that, and make sure I'm limber to make those
mentally limber.
Exactly.
And focused.
And I think if you're doing it, if you're not doing it alone, like if you're doing it with a partner, which I have done on occasion, I mean, I think it's really important to like sync up, because emotions just arise, like all of that stuff, and I know Tamara is you usually are telling us not to get stuck in the stuff, not to look at it right then, I mean, go through every paper, blah blah blah, reading, but I mean, even sometimes when you glance at something, it takes you back to a whole nother time, which can take you back to a whole nother time. So I mean, the point I was trying to make was just organizing with someone else. It's like, it is such a sacred agreement,
I like that phrase.
To come out of it healthy.
Yeah. My job as an organizer is to create a space that's non-judgmental. And if you're doing it by yourself, it would be helpful if you could give that to yourself as well. I tell my clients, I've seen everything. So nothing is going to shock me. Nothing. And there are going to be emotions that can come up and will come up. And that gets to be the boat that the river that your little boat of decluttering gets to go down. Because things will be triggering. And having a partner or somebody like me with you helps you go down that rough spot in the river a little bit more easily.
That's beautiful. So we've gone through the warm up,
Yeah.
right? And now we're in that mental headspace. How do you decide? So I'll go back to myself. I have pockets of clutter throughout the house.
Right.
How
And you've
do you
broken it
decide
down.
what to do? How do you break it down? How do you make it manageable so it's not overwhelming?
All right. So I give this example. If you lived in a mansion and you collected t-shirts,
Yeah.
you could have a room full of t-shirts.
Yes.
If you don't live in a mansion and you collect t-shirts, then you keep the amount of t-shirts that fits the t-shirt space. So find, for instance, if you have a little cubby in your drawer for pencils, then you have as many pencils as fits in that cubby.
That makes sense.
And then you give yourself criteria. We drive a car. When it's a red light, we stop. If it's a green, we go. We know what right of way is. We took all of the driver's ed classes. Give yourself those same sort of parameters.
Okay.
So if you're sorting through purses, I'm just making this up. If you're sorting through purses, go through purses and create your own internal criteria. One of those criteria do I want to be walking out in the world with this purse? Does it represent who I am? Or like broken zippers drive me crazy. If this has a broken zipper, that's going out. Find out what your own emotional internal criteria are. If it's pencils, for me, if the erasers don't work, no. If it's, I don't, that particular lead is, I mean, I get very specific because pencils are important to me. If it's a particular kind of lead or it writes weird, no. Find out what your particular criteria is and then follow that to utilize how you make decisions.
Love it.
And that can be tricky too because you don't quite know, but you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I have faith in you.
Why, thank you. So I'm making my mental decisions, and I've, going back to your purse example, and I have identified that I've got, X amount of space for purses.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone through the ones with the broken zippers are out. The ones that I can't see myself.
Don't represent you out in public.
Don't represent me anymore. They did at one time, don't anymore. Those are out. And then sometimes you get to those ones where it's broken, it's ratty, it's, you totally wouldn't wear it, but there's that emotional connection.
Right.
What do you do with that?
It's your
I
favorite.
loved it. Oh my God, when I was 30, I loved that and I use it all the time. And this happened when I was, using it and blah, 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 blah.
There's
favorite
as
pair of
many
skinny jeans.
Yeah. There's as many ways of making those kind of decisions as there are you.
Okay.
As there are you. So I can throw out ideas, which I'll do now. Do you want to keep it as something that you look at in your closet and it brings you warm fuzzies?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then you keep that one and maybe something else goes that doesn't have that same sort of emotional connection to it.
Right.
So I have no problem with things. That's if you're not ready to give it up, that's okay by me. I am not a Nazi thrower awayer.
Okay.
I'm not like, you must say, blah, 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 blah. No.
Right.
If you can't be gentle, I have E squared, G squared is something that I use. easy, effortless, gentle, generous. E squared,
Oh, I
G
like
squared.
E squared.
This is shaming yourself into making decisions is not the point. I have another thing that I call emotional expiration date.
Yes.
So there's jars that say, do not use after such and such a date.
Right.
I have found that we all have those emotional expiration dates. So for instance, my example for that is that I will go see, when we did this a year ago, I will go see a concert that I love, and I want to take that ticket and put it and right there so I can see it, and it gives me so much love and energy and warm fuzzies and a reminder. About 6 months from that, I look at that and it doesn't do that for me anymore. My emotional expiration date is up, and I'm now able to remove that off of my visual world and put it wherever I decide that if it's really good, I put it into a memory box or whatever is your memory box area, or scrapbooks or whatever you do, or I just throw it away. I have the ability to do that.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one. I still have ticket stubs from Grateful Dead shows in the 90s.
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? And if somebody tells you that you should throw those away, change organizers.
No, nobody's told me to throw it, but it made me laugh. I
Excellent.
was like, okay, I'm not the only one that saves ticket stubs.
Right? My boyfriend has them because he went to some really good ones in the in the 60s, before they were big bands. He's got them framed. So, there's all different ways of making your
That's a
memories.
great idea.
The other thing you can do is thank them. Say, oh, I'm ready to let this go. Thank you so much. Talking to your emotional experience and to that item that reflects that.
Right.
Is a beautiful way of doing it. Taking a picture of it so that you can, like, when you come across it, you go, oh yeah, I love that purse. And thanking you for all the work and all the comfort that it gave you and all the things that it took, that you got to take with it and that it got to experience with you, thanking it.
Right.
There's also another way of making choices. There's many ways of making choices, but just one that comes to mind is this a friend? Is it an acquaintance? Is it a stranger? You can do that kind of projection onto your own physical stuff.
Right.
I don't even know you. I don't particularly like you. Wait, why did I buy that? Every time I look at you, reminds me of that reminds me of that evening that I took it, and now I don't even like it. You're a stranger. I get to give you away.
Right.
So you can put it in those kind of contexts as well.
I love it. It's I love the way what you're describing, and Robin is back. There she is. Although I don't know if we can hear you, Robin.
I'm here.
Okay. There's a lag. There's a lag between your
me?
audio and your video, just FYI, at least on my end. So let me get rid of that. And what I was gonna say is first, hello TC. She just said she's lurking. Always happy to have you here. I love that these little tips that you're giving us. It's almost like creating a little ceremony or just a ritual around it, right? So the ceremony to the warm-up ceremony, and then the right, and then the
as you wind your brain down into the focus of the actual doing of the ceremony.
Exactly. And then the thank you ceremony, to thank those items that you might be ready to let go of, and thank them for how they've served you and how they've brought joy into your life and all of that. And that's for me, I'd never thought to do that. And that's just lovely. And it seems like a nice way to kind of let go of that emotional attachment that that we have to stuff.
To aid your emotional expiration date.
Exactly.
And I have to tell you, the first time you do it, because I've experienced this a lot with my clients, the first time they do it, it really feels goofy and it feels stupid. And they're just like, look at me like, what? And I'm like, no, just go ahead and do it. And then, it starts coming out and the thanks. And also, you don't even have, I can leave the room. I don't, it's not like my witnessing it is valuable, unless if it's valuable to the person. Right. And they will do it. And you can almost see this change on their face happen.
Really?
Where they're like, there is a completion aspect that is really valuable to that thanking. And I've seen so many things then go into the giveaway box.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier to cut the strings, so to speak.
Right.
I would think. I'm going to try it.
Yeah. And if you do that and it still says you want to stick around, then keep it. Again, I am not the Nazi thrower awayer. No, you'll find something else that doesn't have that emotional, that's not that dear of a friend.
That's super helpful. That's super helpful. So what haven't we touched on in your process? We've talked organize emotional expiration.
Let's talk about what I call the daily do's.
Oh, let's do it. What are the daily do's?
I have 3. You have every person gets to create their own daily do's.
Right.
But I have 3 that pretty much are happening anyway. Beginning, you're going to check in with your calendar, whether it's electronic or it's paper or it's the big to-do list. Checking in. Oh, my helper is deciding to stretch here with her butt to the camera. Oh, there you are. This is Posey.
Hello.
They've done so many studies about if you do this, then this, you're saving yourself this many hours and you're giving yourself this much productivity. So just trust that the numbers are out there. But to start your day looking at your calendar situation, like what's going on for the day, and wrapping your day up with a calendar. Mm-hmm. They say there's hours that you save by having some focus and understanding of what you have to do today and what you're going to start tomorrow with, as well as completion and saying thank you to what you're doing.
Yeah.
That in and of itself. So there's calendar. And then there's mailboxes. Our world is so complex, even from when I started this, of what includes mailboxes. We had voicemail and we had snail mail. Right. That was it. Then we started getting email. Then we started getting work and personal email. Now we've got Facebook messaging. We've got Instagram messaging. We've got Twitter messaging. It's overwhelming.
Totally.
So knowing that you touch those and giving yourself a time frame or whatever you need to personally do, that's one of your daily do's.
Okay.
And then the third daily do is something that's a little less has had a little less context, but I think is really important and valuable, which is what I call your daily pick and puts. You can do anything for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Anything. Set a timer for 15 minutes and pick things up and put them away for 15 minutes.
That you make it sound so simple.
But that's all you do. When the bell rings, and you stop. And if you're doing that on a daily basis, your pick and puts, things happen. It's less and less that you're doing. It adds up.
It takes away the overwhelm.
And if you're with a family, if you're in a family, I have taught families to do a 15-minute pick and put. Turn on the music that kid wants to listen to for 15 high energy minutes.
Yeah.
Set the timer. Everybody go do a pick and put. So that it becomes a habit that is learned and a skill that is learned at an early age.
My mom is wishing that she knew you like 40 years ago.
Hi, Mom. 40 years ago.
I can guarantee it because she tried everything. She got me a new desk with lots of drawers, and she got me
Right.
bookshelves and all of that. And I was the kid who had the music blaring, and my desk was cluttered, and I knew where every single thing was in that clutter, but it made her crazy.
Well, and that in and of itself is why I go into homes and create systems that work for people that come together. I've worked with a lot of people that have just gotten married, or they've tried to be, like, I'm done. I can't deal with you anymore. How do we bring our systems together so that there isn't a mother that's working super hard? Now, what I hear from your mother, not your mother was doing exactly what she knew to do,
Right.
which was buying you stuff rather than going into the internal world and just checking on you inside.
Yeah, she was totally, before the Container Store came into existence,
Right.
she was doing exactly that.
Yeah. And as we've spoken about, the containers and the Container Store are sort of your last thing to do.
Right.
There's a whole bunch of stuff to do before you get to the containers, but the Container Store is the most exciting part, and it's so delicious. You want to engage, but there's a lot of work to be done before that, and you don't actually know what containers you need until you've done this process.
I love it. Well, that's the most fun because you get to go shopping. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Robin.
Shopping.
So yeah, I was just going to say the Container Store is exciting too because you get to get more stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But also,
generally, you don't know what stuff it is that you need yet.
right. Also, I just wanted to say with the 15-minute pick and put, I know that after, working with you, Gil and I went to doing like the Pomodoros, the system Pomodoro, where it is that you do 20 minutes of something and then you take a 10-minute break or something like that. And, but what I think is so valuable about the 15-minute pick and put or the 20 minutes is that we really don't realize how much we can get done in that time. At least that's my experience. Is I look around at my stuff and I go, oh God, I can't do anything with this in 15 minutes. But if I get up and I start to do it and I really put the timer on and then I see what I've done in 15 minutes, I'm like, oh my God, I've cleaned my room.
And that only took 15 minutes?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I've organized enough to where, like the piles of things are in the right places and things are happening. I mean, it's a big difference.
Well,
so I think it's really, I was just going to say, it's really important what you were saying. Really important what you were saying to teach early, because it's like, humans, we have a tendency to overwhelm ourselves and, create all the reasons why not, why we can't, as opposed to why.
And what we found is that the things that you don't want to do generally take much less time than the things that you do want to do, because when you get involved in the things you do want to do, those go on and on and on, and you lose track of time, and it becomes lovely. But when it's the things that you don't want to do, you make up that it becomes this huge thing. It's going to take me forever, and there's eye rolling and resistance and generally those happen pretty darn quickly.
I love it. I love it. I had never thought to use Pomodoros for organizing, but that's perfect.
Because you can overwhelm yourself.
Yes. Yes. And that's why.
And just remember, you're making hundreds of decisions, and that does take time and wear and emotional energy.
Yes. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Well, I think what you said, going back to clutter is unmade decisions. And when we think about ourselves, in the human mode and that process of making decisions, generally that brings up emotions. anyway. So really to like hone it down and be able to set your intention, or again have the reward of snacks or something to celebrate at the end, or any of those things. It just changes it. And I think, I think it's a good way just to reorganize your brain.
Yeah.
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 It's brilliant.
Two things about that I want to make sure we get in is which I think we have a banner for this one, is you don't want to organize for the exception.
We do have a banner for that one.
Yay! What I find in working with clients, I'll say, yeah, but what if? Yeah, but what if I need that? And that generally is a preface to something that happens as an exception. Now, mind you, we have lived a year of an enormous exception.
Yes.
And I understand that. That's just going to happen. Exceptions will happen. But if you're organized to begin with, you know how to get, I would suggest that there's a lot more possibility that you'll know how to get through that exception. So I think I've mentioned this, if you decided you don't really need double stick tape, so you gave that away, and the next day, oh my God, I could have used that double stick tape. Well, number one, did you remember that you actually had it? And it wasn't until you started organizing that you realized, oh, I have double stick tape. And then decide, I never use double stick tape. And then the next day, of course, you want to use double stick tape.
Why does that always happen?
Well, number one, because you now have knowledge,
right,
that you didn't have because you actually saw all the things that you own. But in that process, you put all your tape together. So you've got if this is the way you decide to organize, you've got your painter's tape, and you've got your electrician's tape, and you've got your double stick tape, and you've got your whatever. Put those tapes together.
Right.
And you'll now be able to put your hands on tape itself and do the little twirly around and stick it around and pretend you have double stick tape, because you actually know where your tape is.
Right.
So you're able to be open and creative with your stuff that is organized, should the exception come up.
Okay. That's super helpful.
So don't organize for the exception, and organize for your humanity.
So say a little bit more about organizing for your humanity. Is that what we talked about earlier with the hole punch?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
And I'll give another example. I was in a garage, and one of the last things that hadn't been organized, a perfect home hadn't been found for it, was a cardboard table.
Okay.
Now, a cardboard table in and of itself is very thin, but a little bit weird and bulky. And they actually use this cardboard table pretty frequently. They had card parties, they had picnics, they wanted to be able to access his card table pretty easily. But at the very top of the garage was a very slim space, perfect size for a card table. But it was at the very, very top of the garage. You would have had to have put it up with a ladder and gotten it down with a ladder.
Right.
That is not organizing for your humanity. That's some aspirational, I should be able to crawl up a ladder, and anytime I need that card table. And that's just being mean to yourself, as far as I'm concerned. That is not being easy, effortless, gentle, and generous.
I love it.
Let's find a different place for that card table that we can just grab it a couple times a week, as opposed to pulling out a ladder, crawling up the ladder, where it perfectly fits in that little tiny slim space between the top of the top of the shelves and the garage ceiling. Yeah. No,
I love
don't
that.
put it there.
I love it.
It's giving yourself understanding that we're not going to get up and walk across the room to throw that piece of paper away.
Right.
Or whatever it is that we think we should be able to do because we're strong, focused human beings.
Right.
No, give it to yourself.
Right.
Organize
Life's
for your
complicated enough.
Right? Yeah.
I love it. I love it. This has been.
I
Go
just
ahead, Robin.
oh, go ahead.
No, go.
I was just gonna say, I just want to add, I think that what you're saying about being gentle, with yourself is just so important, because this is just the tip of the iceberg, and that I think my experience of organizing with you also is that we learn so much about ourselves in the process. And so it's not just about the box of notes I have in the garage from high school from my friends that we passed in class. One of the biggest lessons I think that I think about all the time when I think about organizing with you is that I remember going in the kitchen to open a cabinet to do something, and you saying to me, why are the cabinets open? And I was like, I don't like to close things off. And I realized that all the time, that I like to do things 99%. So I like to almost finish the dishes. I like to almost get it complete. I don't take it all the way to completion. And so it's a big learning. So I find myself all the time going, close the cabinet, Robin, or just at least being aware if it's what I want to do. I'm just saying, I think that, it's organizing is not for sissies.
No, it is not.
Yeah. It's for the brave of heart.
It is
because it can trigger everything, because our stuff can trigger everything. And if you are a person that has issues around your stuff, it quite often is your Achilles heel. So some people will have issues with driving too fast, or getting tickets, or some people will drink too much. Quite often our issues will come out in our stuff, and you get to learn that, if that's where your issues are, is how it's reflected in your stuff.
Right. So good.
Woo-hoo.
So good. I've got lots of tips that I'm going to take into my spring cleaning this month.
Excellent. Well, I want to end with this, if it's okay with you all, is we have just come through a year today of the largest human world exception experiment
Right.
that we have ever had.
Right.
And through this sort of liminal cocooning time, forced in the most extraordinary way, we have changed collectively, individually. And what we have the opportunity for right now is to have our space now reflect that change. And I would suggest that some of these decisions are going to be easier than we actually thought, because we're not the person we were a year ago.
Right.
And so, for instance, I put on something the other day because I've started to actually wear clothing as opposed to pajamas and yoga pants. I put on something, I went, this does not reflect who I am anymore. This is not me anymore. And it was very easy to put it in the donate sack. I've done that with large portions of my apartment. And it was been much easier because I realized what does and doesn't reflect and where we are in possibility.
Yeah.
So take this time to get clear on what your possibility is, where you're wanting your future to go. Create a vacuum, so to speak, by having things that don't reflect who you are now go out. And now you get to be at choice as to what does come in.
That's great. That's great. And it's just a wonderful reminder that we're not just decluttering, we're creating space for new. And
we're at choice.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's just a beautiful way to kind of wrap things up, that it's not, if you're someone who has a hard time letting go of things, reframe it of, I'm not letting go of something, I'm creating space. And that might, that small shift might be helpful. I love it.
You're creating space for your future.
Yeah, that's great.
What you want to live into.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Tamara. This has been an awesome, awesome hour. We appreciate you, loved having you. And hopefully everybody can find some really great nuggets that they can take into their own spring cleaning over the next couple months.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Lovely to talk about it all.
Well, you have lots of great wisdom and nuggets of insight, so it's been wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you.
And if you want to get in touch with Tamara, you can go to her website. Right?
Yes.
There it is.
Tamarazook.com. Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Anything else that I missed, Robin?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I'm going to let you talk out, though, because I'm hearing a lot of echo and delay.
Yeah, there's a lot of delay with your audio. Okay, so next week we are on deck with Davina Katulski, and we will be talking mana. So you want to join because mana is kind of fantastic. She's going to talk about that and share some insights from her latest book. And I think that's it. We'll see you all next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Thank you again, Tamara. It's been awesome
So
having
much
you.
more.
And we'll see you back here next week. Take care. Lots of love. Bye.